Hi, this is Dee-Dee Devon from Divine Intervention Lifestyle and Nutrition Health Coaching. Today, I'm feeling just a little bit stressed, like most of us with our never-ending, rotating list of things to do, or as I like to say, get-to-do list. And it's always easier said than done to say, just slow down, breathe, meditate. I heard a quote once that cracks me up every time that says, everyone should meditate at least 20 minutes a day. Unless you're really, really, really busy, then an hour. Yep, I'll get right on that. So I thought I'd like to share with you one of my favorite tips for slowing down on any day and even multiple times a day that doesn't require any extra time out of your day and restores a sense of peace and balance. Granted, as a health coach, it's not just what you eat, but as I've mentioned many times before, it's also how you eat, when you eat, where you eat, and probably, and most importantly, why you eat. But the common denominator is you must eat. So not eating not only slows your metabolism down, but also sets you up for fast food and ultimately a binge later in the day. So, since I'm going to eat anyways, I oftentimes, especially on days like today, will tune in my focus and make it an eating meditation. So I'm eating and meditating at the same time. Sweet, right? Can you guess how many times the average person chews a bite of food? I'll give you a hint. Three. Yes, three chews and then swallow, which means your body has to work really hard to break down the food. We might as well just have a door in our stomach that says insert food here. Saliva has important enzymes that helps break down the food, making it easier to digest and assimilate, which means more of it gets used by the body versus being stored as fat, for one. So often we eat mindlessly. We stuff food in our mouths while working on the computer, watching TV, or on the run. And by simply chewing your food, it forces you to slow down, which not only aids in digestion and assimilation of nutrients, but your stomach doesn't have to do so much work. And your stomach can tell your mind when you're full faster, so you'll likely end up eating less, but having more energy. And my favorite part, elongates the meal so you're not deprived by the satisfaction of eating. It's like when you go to froyo with your friend and you hog yours down and then you're like panting at theirs because they're eating theirs slowly and you just want to eat theirs too because you ate yours so fast. So the pleasure of eating lies in slowing down and fully experiencing all of the elements of the food. So I'm not going to actually do it because I can't talk with my mouth full, but I am going to describe how to do it. And then you can give it a try maybe tonight with your family over dinner. And the good news is once you learn this, you can't unlearn it. And so even when I'm not doing it perfectly, it's always running through my mind when I sit down to eat a meal. So what I like to do is to take time to explore each of the following during your next meal and make it your meditation or prayer. I like to start by washing my hands, putting on some music, and maybe lighting a candle. And then, first, I look at my food. I like to imagine that I'm a Martian scientist. I just arrived here on Earth and have never seen this food before. I like to look at it carefully without naming it, and what I'm looking for is to see the water, the rain, and the sunlight within the food. Next, I smell the food. I bring it up to my nose without naming the scent, experience smelling it, and then describe what I smell. Now, I'm not just eating it yet. I like to now focus on what is going on in my mouth, the physiological reaction. I begin to notice that saliva is being produced, Even though I haven't put the food in my mouth yet, I've noticed the mind-body phenomenon and how the senses respond to the anticipation of the food being eaten. And next, I'll explore how the food feels. Again, without naming the sensation, I just experience touching my food. Then, motion and movement. How is it that my hand knows how to move the food directly to my lips? As I bring the food up to my mouth, I notice what happens next. The mouth receives the food. Nothing goes into the mouth without it being received. And who or what is doing the receiving? The tongue. I observe what the tongue does with it. How does it get the food between my teeth? It's amazing that the tongue is so skilled and with such remarkable muscle can actually receive the food and then know what to do with it every time. Now that I've taken a bite, after becoming aware of the food in my mouth, I start biting into it really slowly, then I begin to chew it. I like to aim for about 20 to 25 bites per mouthful, or chews per mouthful. I notice that the tongue decides which side of the mouth it's going to chew on, and I give all of my attention to my mouth and take a few bites. Then I stop to experience what's happening. What is happening is invariably an explosion of taste. I express what's going on, trying to be really specific. What is the experience? Is it sweet or sour or juicy? There are literally hundreds of words to describe the experience of tasting. And as I continue to chew, the taste changes, as does the consistency. At a certain point, you'll become aware of the texture of the food because the taste has mostly passed. And at this point, if the texture causes aversion, you may want to swallow it, but I try to keep it in my mouth. Don't swallow it yet. I like to stay with the impatience and the inborn impulse to swallow. Don't swallow until you detect the impulse to do so. And then observe what is involved in getting the food over to the place where it's going to be swallowed. And when you detect that impulse to swallow, follow it down to the stomach, feel your whole body, and acknowledge that your body is now exactly one bite heavier. Next, pause for a moment or two and see if you can taste your breath. In a similar way, bring that same quality of attention to your breath that you gave to seeing, feeling, smelling, and tasting the food. See if you can taste your breath in a similar way. And then finally, be silent. By this point, you understand something of what a meditation is. It is doing what we do all the time, except we're doing it with our attention, directed, moment to moment, non-judgmental attention. Sometimes we want big results fast, and we imagine that means pushing ourselves as fast as we can go, but often set ourselves up for failure that way. It turns out that the opposite is often more effective. Slow and steady, consistent follow-through is what gets results. Namaste.